Hey, what's up? Welcome back. This is part 13 of clearbnb. We are going to set up Stripe Connect accounts for our hosts so they can be paid out when a guest comes and books and stays at their place for this clearbnb application. So inside of Stripe, there is this product called Stripe Connect. Stripe Connect enables these multi-party payments. You can create connected accounts. So a connected account is a type of Stripe account that is managed by a platform account. So you will sign up for Stripe and you have your account, and then your account can set up like sub accounts basically. And so we're going to go through this whole process of collecting payments and then paying out. So we're already actually collecting payments with Stripe Checkout. Now we're going to use Stripe Connect to onboard these connected accounts and set them up. So we've already got Stripe set up, and now we need to create the connected account. So this is going to be an API call to Stripe to create a brand new connected account. This is what the call is going to look like in Ruby. At a minimum, the thing that we need to pass is a type of connected account. So it turns out there's 3 different types, and they all work a little differently. Custom account is a full white label solution. They don't have a dashboard by default. If you want to use custom, you have to build a lot of dashboard tools for seeing previous payments, updating payout settings, and various different things. That's part of custom. That is like a full white label solution where maybe you want to control the entire experience for all of your sellers on your like Etsy stores, or all of the drivers for Lyft or something like that. Express, there is a smaller, like sort of like minimal dashboard that Stripe provides. You kind of like just redirect the Express dashboard, and your hosts, in our case, will be able to see some minimal information. A standard connected account is going to be the full-blown Stripe account. They have access to everything. It just happens that it is controlled by your platform account. There's a bunch of other information we can pass here: the country, email, capabilities, the business type, whether it's an individual or a company. So we're going to try to like pre-populate as much as we can from the account. Now in the response, we're going to get an ID for the connected account, and that's going to start with ACCT_. There's also going to be this field here called charges enabled. This is going to tell us whether or not we can actually collect payments on behalf of this connected account. So we're going to want to enable both charges and transfers. So there's going to be another one down here around payouts enabled. But really what we want to keep track of is whether or not the charges are enabled, and we also want to keep track of the account ID. That's going to tell us whether or not we can actually like accept or like pay out the hosts. So, or accept payments on their behalf and pay them out. So that's what we're going to track. So inside of our database, we already have this concept of a user, and a user currently is most often just a guest, but they could also technically be a host. And we haven't really made that distinction yet, but I don't think we necessarily need to create Stripe accounts for every single user, because I don't think every single user is going to be a host. So let's generate a new migration, and we'll call it like add host fields to users. And I'm like on a brand new computer, so there's a couple things that are a little bit different that I need to get used to. So add column to users, and instead of the host ID, we're going to track like is host, and this is going to be a Boolean, and it'll default to false. And then we also want to add the users, the Stripe account ID, and that's going to be a string. And we want to add the column to users, whether or not the Stripe charges, or just like charges enabled, and that should be good. Bin Rails DB migrate. Okay, so that's going to add the fields to our user table. We also need to have some concept of whether or not, I guess like we need to like go through some onboarding process, right? When someone says they want to be a host, we need to sort of like enable some stuff for them. And so what I'm thinking is that as we have it right now, inside of our like routes, right, we have this host namespace, but we're not actually doing much with this other than namespacing listings and their rooms and photos so they can add listings. What I think we might want to do is actually just create a some sort of like settings controller, or maybe we should call it like payments or a payouts controller. Payouts, payment settings, I don't know. payments is going to be like if you are a guest and you're paying out. And I think, or if you're a guest and you're paying for your stay. So in this case, why don't we go with, why don't we call it merchant settings, Rails G controller, host merchant settings. And yeah, so that's going to be super annoying. Okay, so merchant settings controller. So inside of the merchant settings controller, I guess on the index, we will have some concept of a view where we know whether or not the current user is a host or not. So host merchant, I guess we want to go over to views and add a new view for this under host merchant settings index. Actually, this might be just, yeah, index.html. Okay, so let's just say we've got our H1 up here, and its class is going to be text XL. Wow, that's cool. Okay, and then let's see. So we want to have, we're going to print out like current user. I guess, yeah, we'll say like charges enabled is going to be current user dot charges enabled. Okay, that's cool. And then we're going to have something like, yeah, like Stripe account is going to be current user dot Stripe account ID. And let's see if we can just get this to come up. So we're going to have this host resources merchant settings. And we've got to start up all of our stuff. So we're going to say bin Rails S. So that's going to start our Rails server. And then we also need to start up our bin Webpack dev server. So I started to play around with ES build. I still haven't gotten it. I need to like go through the whole process of figuring out some security settings and things, but yeah, it's close. It's close. All right, so then we also need to start our Redis server, and we also need to start, actually, yeah, we don't want vertical here. Let's start, actually over here, we'll split vertically again, and then we'll start the queue. This is going to be our rake tasks, or like our background jobs. Queue equals star, rake, oh gosh, I forgot what it's called. So rake tasks work, rescue work, rake rescue work. Okay, so that should fire up our workers. So we've got our Redis and our background tasks are running. We've got our JavaScript compiling. We have our Rails server running. Let's also split vertically here. I keep doing that, whatever. All right, so we need to have our Stripe CLI listening and forwarding webhook events into our webhook handler. So we're going to say Stripe listen -- forward to localhost 3000 /webhook /Stripe. And then we also want to do -C so that we receive connect webhooks. So when you're setting up your account, you can actually set up two different kinds of webhook endpoints. The first kind is your account and your account webhooks. And this is going to be any events that are firing on your actual account. You can also set up connect webhooks to receive event notifications for any time events fire on your connected accounts. So we're going to pass those also to localhost 3000 /webhooks /Stripe. And that way, both of our incoming events are going to be processed by the same webhook handler. Okay, what else do we want here? I guess that's probably a pretty good start. So we've got our merchant settings. Let's open up localhost 3000 /host merchant settings. Undefined method, Stripe account ID for nil class. That's because we don't have anyone logged in yet. So we go to merchant settings controller. And we want to add before filter authenticate user. I guess before action. Before filter was like an old name for it. Okay, so we need to log in. Wave at cjav.dev. Password. Don't want to save it right now. Okay, here we go. So Stripe account doesn't have anything and charges are not enabled. Okay, so now let's go. I guess we want to add now a button to connect the Stripe account. So let's go back to the merchant settings index here, and we'll say like, or like, yeah, I guess we could say like if current user dot Stripe account ID is, if it's blank, then you have not, okay. Okay, and then otherwise, yep. Then otherwise we'll show these things. I'm using Copilot here and it's been pretty good. The only thing that I'm having a problem with now is that when I visually select a line, I'm not actually well, okay, I guess that's a Vim/colors setting. So let's refresh. Okay, you have not connected your Stripe account yet. Connect your Stripe account. And what we want to do, I guess, should we have it say connect Stripe? Yeah, sure. Or I guess like, yeah, I guess that's fine. I'm wondering if we want to have it be a form where you post to merchant settings, but I think this is fine. We'll just create a new route in merchant settings controller that will set something like current user dot update is host to true. So we know at this point, if they're going to connect their Stripe account, we know for sure that they're going to be a host. I guess we also know that we want to create a Stripe account for them. So we can say account is Stripe account.create. The country is US. And we want the type to be Express. And what else do we have here? We've got the, email is the current user.email. And we have capabilities that's required for custom accounts, but technically we could request card payments and transfers, which we do want to. Okay, and then what else do we want down here? I guess we also want the tax reporting for the 1099K. Requested true. Gosh, Copilot is rocking it right now. I'm really impressed. So the business type is going to be individual. That's right. Okay, and then I guess we want to pass in individual, and we can have the email. Oops. We don't have all this information, so we just have the email. And the name, we don't actually have like separate first name and last name stored in the database. We could theoretically go and add all of that, and that would be cool. I guess the other thing is we want to check and make sure that we only want to do this if current user.stripe account ID is not present. Okay, so then after we create this Stripe account, then what we want to do is we also want to update the current user to have their account ID, their Stripe account ID be the account ID. And for now, charges are definitely not enabled. They're going to be false until we receive a webhook or a webhook notification later. So actually, I'm not even going to pass that. I'm just going to leave that out. We will update the current user. And then after this happens, I guess what we want to do is redirect back to the index. So in either case, we'll say redirect to host merchant settings path. Sure. That looks good. Okay, so if we say connect our Stripe account, the action show cannot be found, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we need to go to routes, and then here we need to say do member do get to connect Stripe account, or no, just connect let's just call it connect. And this is going to go to merchant settings connect. And then we'll just call this connect. And what else do we want to do here? Okay, so after we have created the Stripe connected account, the connect account, we want to redirect to Stripe. And so the way we can do that is by creating an account link. And we want to pass along the account ID that we just created. So current user dot Stripe account ID. Now the refresh URL is going to be this same URL. So we basically want to pass host merchant settings connect URL. Wow, that's impressive. And the return URL is going to be something like host merchant settings connected. We'll make another method down here, connected, which is just going to render text like connected. And we need to go add that route. Okay, so this is going to return a link, and we want to redirect to that link. So redirect to link.url, status like see other, and then allow other, I forget what this is, allow other hosts true, because it's going to be a different, this is going to be on the Stripe domain when we redirect to this onboarding flow. And then we also want to return, we're going to return early if that's the case. Okay, so let's try going through the process here. So we're back at merchant settings, connect your Stripe account, boom. The action show could not be found for, okay, so it keeps thinking that we want to show, oh, right, because in our index, merchant settings index here, we need to update this link to go to /connect. Oh, and then in our routes, instead of member do, this should have been collection do. The other thing that I'm noticing is that inside of this controller, what we want to do is, if there's no account ID present, we want to create the account ID. And then if we already had an account ID, then we want to redirect to this link URL. And I don't think we want to redirect back. All right, so let's try going to here again, refresh the page, click on this. Okay, so that should have created a Stripe account, and then undefined local variable or method host merchant settings connect URL. Huh? Oh, I had the order wrong. Okay, so when it's a custom route like this, the connect goes on the other side. So merchant settings controller. So this should be the connect merchant settings URL and then connected. Okay, so let's see if this works. We should get redirected to Stripe, and we were redirected, and this is the onboarding flow. So we're going to go through onboarding here, sign into our account. We're going to get a text message. 9. I'm going to use one of my saved informations to just make it fast, but there's a bunch of connect test strings that you can use during onboarding that will like immediately verify you. So you'll want to go take a look at those. I think, yeah, there should be like testing. Yeah, here we go, testing that has like a bunch of test strings. So like use this for certain SMS, use these dates of birth for certain things, address full match for the line 1, and then you have to have like real city, state, zip, etc. So you can kind of come in here to this like docs/connect/testing and find out what all those test strings are. All right, so at this point, we are still onboarding, so we need to pick our industry. This is going to be Travel. I guess that we could also like we could probably also pre-fill this under business details, and then the clearbnb.com, we'll just use that as the business website, even though that doesn't exist. And we want to use a test card or test account. So this is going to be the bank account, the test bank account that we're going to like pay out to. Okay, we're going to click submit. All this is just test information as we're going through this process. And okay, missing template. Right, okay, that's cool. So we didn't actually need a template. We said render text. I thought this was going to just print out the text. I don't know. Maybe it needs a text template, but whatever. So we should be connected. And you'll see that in the logs for the Stripe CLI, the Stripe CLI's listen command, there's a bunch of events that are firing on this account. So one of them in particular is called account.updated. And we should have been saving all of those event objects in our like webhook handling system. So let's open up the Rails console and take a look at those events. Event.count. So we have 17 events, event.last, capability.updated. So event.where, event type is account.updated. And here is one of those events, one of the account.updated events. And somewhere in here, there's going to be like a charges enabled. And this tells us that the charges are not enabled yet. But this is what we want to listen for, is when those charges become enabled. And so what we want to do now is actually, before we go too far, let's add connected.html.arb to our merchant stuff here. Class is text 3XL, blah, 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 connected. And then we can say like, thanks so much. I don't know I don't know exactly what we would need to say there. Okay, so now what we want to do is we got to go look at our webhook handling. So event job, and inside of here, inside of handle Stripe, we want to say when account.updated, we want to find, so this is going to be the account object, event.data.object, and then we want to find the user. So we're going to say user.find by their Stripe account ID is going to be account.id. And we want to say if account.charges enabled, user.update, charges enabled to true. And in fact, like what we could do is say, just always update the user's account to have charges enabled equal to account.charges enabled. That way, if the charges get disabled for some reason, like in the future, if we need to submit some more sort of like know your customer information, then we'll be able to tell whether or not the charges were enabled. All right, so let's go look back at our merchant settings here. We have our Stripe account ID that is like entered, that's good. Charges are not enabled. So let's actually go back to all of the account updated events and say update all and set the status to pending. And then what we want to do is say like, yeah, we want to go through each of these. And then P like E dot, I guess we want to kick off the event job. Event job dot perform later for E. And that should kick off all of the events and reprocess them. And now we have charges enabled, and that is, now it says yes. So we received all of the webhook notifications, but we didn't have our processing set up. We were able to reprocess those locally, which is super handy. And now we have charges enabled. So that's super cool. So if this host has some listings, which because I blew away the database, we don't have any listings yet. So let's say like, actually, let's go add a button to the listing view. Listing index for the host, we want to say like, you know, href is host listings new. Wow, look at that, add new listing. Holy moly, that's pretty cool. So add new listing, and then our title is gonna be, I don't know, like cabin in the woods and something 123 Main Street, San Francisco, California, 94111. I don't know, 6 people can stay. The nightly price is $120. The cleaning fee is $120. And these, again, I think are in cents. So let's actually make that $200 a night. And then we'll say create listing. Okay, so now we have a listing here. And we could edit the rooms. So we could add a room. We can add a bedroom. We could add a living room. And we could add beds to that. Maybe we have like, I don't know, king bed. Wait, king bed in the living room? No, king bed in the primary bedroom. Add. And okay, so let's add another bedroom that's going to have a queen bed and another queen bed. We'll say add room. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. We go back to host listings. So now we have our cabin in the woods here. It's in draft. And I guess details, yeah, we could say that this is published. So we'll update the listing to published. If we wanted to, we could edit the photos. But at this point, I think if we go to listings, yeah, we see cabin in the woods is a listing, and we could reserve this. Now, what I think we want to do is, the way that I initially set this up was to have it be so that we could collect payment with checkout, and then later down the road, we could pay out the host. But what I think we want to do is actually update our checkout, or like our reservations controller, so that when we redirect to checkout, we actually pass in the this connected account, and we take our cut for our application fee, and we also make sure that the connected account for this host is going to be paid out. So here what we can do is we can say transfer data is the destination, and that is in fact pretty close. Listing host. Yeah, so it's going to be the listing host's Stripe account ID. And then we also want to pass like application fee amount. And that is going to be some fraction of the cleaning fee plus the nightly price. So some percentage of this amount. So for now, let's just say that we're going to, multiply it by, or we'll take 10%. I don't know. I think this will work. And then we want to convert this back to an integer. And let's just see how this goes. So if we redirect to checkout now, okay, we go through Stripe checkout, we're going to pay $320. That's the $200 a night plus $120 cleaning fee. And we are paying as this user. It's going to be the same user. It's like they're staying in their own property, but whatever. Okay, test. And then we'll put in some zip code and click pay. And so, okay, so we paid. The status is pending. We should be handling webhooks in the background. If we refresh the page, we see that it's booked. We have a payment intent ID. Let's take a look in the Stripe dashboard to see if we received the payment. And it looks like we did receive the payment of $320. And did it actually pay out the... It did... Okay, so we collected the fee, $32. Okay. And now if we go look at the connected account. So here's the connected account at the top. Yep. And they received $288. So that's perfect. So someone booked, they paid $320 a night. That was the guest. And the host got paid out $288 a night. For the whole stay, they paid $320 and the host got paid out $288, less their fees for the platform processing the payment. So this is totally working, and we have like successfully set up basically like the whole payments loop at least. And yeah, I guess the next part would be we should go in and probably improve our booking so that we can actually pick specific dates, and then maybe fire events when certain people check in, check out, whatever. But I think this is a good stopping point because now we have we're able to pay out to the host when someone books one of their properties. All right, so we've got checkout done. Just looking back at our plan here, it looks like we have a couple more things we could add to the concept of a listing. We've also got some tools we could add, like we want to text the host when they get a new booking to tell them, hey, you've got a new request coming in, or you've got a new booking that's coming for certain dates. We also want to allow the guests and the host to message each other, and I think we might be able to use like Action Mailbox for this. That'll be pretty cool. We've also want to, allow users to select which time zone they're in, so all of the messages are appropriately in their own time zone. I think we've already got geolocation up and running for the most part. I guess we still have to fix that bug with the address autocomplete. I don't know what's going on. And then we need some calendaring system so that we can see on the calendar when the calendar is already either blocked by the host or booked by guests. And then, we need to build this booking engine so that we can search by dates, by certain locations, and by a whole bunch of other stuff. So we've got tons of things to build. And this is, I think this will probably be my last video in this studio. I'm actually moving across the country. So bear with me as I get spun back up in January. So expect something late January, maybe early February for the next video. We've got tons of stuff to cover. But this will be the last video for a little while as we pack up our entire house and move from the West Coast. We live in Nevada now. We're going to move all the way to the East Coast and live in New Hampshire. So bear with us as we get set back up. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.